Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started here today, and we thank you so much for joining us. We know your time is valuable, and we're so happy that you're spending a little bit of time with us today. We don't really expect this webinar to go the whole hour. We anticipate about a 30, maybe 40-minute stop on this, so we'll save you a little bit of time today. And just a few housekeeping notes before we get started. Right now your video is turned off, but feel free to use it if you'd like. We have put everybody on mute, so we would like to keep everybody on mute, but if you have certain questions or comments, we do encourage you to use the chat box. Although we don't anticipate getting to those today, we would follow up with you after the webinar on any comments or questions you might have in chat. And if you're not familiar with Zoom, I just want to tell you a little bit about a view change that you can do. So you can change your view up at the top where it says viewing Amy Bielke's screen. You click the view options and fit to window and side-by-side mode. It allows you to see the audience, the moderators, and the screen. So just a little bit about Carrousel Travel. For those of you that are not familiar with us, we are a full-service travel management company located in Minneapolis, and we're one of the largest in the 5-state area. We offer 3 lines of business. One is our corporate business travel management with our latest online booking technology. We also have a full-service group travel department for air-only groups, corporate incentive travel programs, or meetings. And we have a vacation department with very senior consultants helping people plan personal travel, family travel, and also weddings. I'd like to introduce our moderators today. I'm Amy Bielke, and for those of you wondering, this is my pre-COVID haircut here on the screen. Things have gotten a little out of hand. I've actually been with Carrousel Travel for 5 years now, and I've been in business development with focus on group sales and corporate sales. I'd also like to introduce Tim Fish, our Vice President of Global Client Services.
Hi everyone, my name is Tim Fish, and if you were wondering, this is my post-COVID haircut that I just gave myself a few weeks ago. I'm not going to quit my day job, but I normally look more like I do in the picture. Anyway, I've been with Carrousel Travel for 13 years working in account management and client services. I also am in charge of our corporate agent department. I've been in the travel industry for 27 years, where I started as a corporate travel agent myself, and I worked into sales for a couple of years and then just really found my niche in account management, and that's where I've been working in that space for like the last 18 or 19 years. So welcome everyone. Thanks so much for joining us.
And Richard Ezralov, he is our new managing director and partner at Carrousel Travel.
Yeah, good morning, and thank you, Amy. As Amy mentioned, I just joined Carrousel in January. I had the remarkable timing to get into the travel business this January. I must admit, when I weighed all the pros and cons of kind of a career change, a generational pandemic like we're facing right now just wasn't on my list. You know, that being said, and I may be crazy, but this change has been a fantastic experience. I've had the privilege of joining this incredible company filled with such really caring, smart, and loyal group of people. A little bit of my background, I have over 30 years, I guess it is, in technology and business consulting focused on change and expense management. But I jumped at the chance to join my good friend Neil Kramer, who's owned Carrousel Travel for more than 30 years. Pandemic aside, travel seemed like a lot more fun and a little bit of a welcome change of pace from analyzing telecommunication invoices and data networking. Amy, if you wouldn't mind taking us to the next slide, let's just take a look at what's kind of going on today in the industry. Since I've entered the travel business, you have to wonder if it was me. I think I need to channel my power into something a little bit more positive. Anyway, this is a graph showing you through TSA checkpoint what the travel numbers have looked like since the beginning of the year. If you take a look, on April 12th, it kind of represents kind of the low point here. That's a 96% drop in year over year travel. And if we look back to just this week, we see that now it's down still 80%, but what's most impressive to me is that that represents about a 500% increase just over the last 8 weeks. So it's interesting. I read just this morning even that airline fares are down about 30% from where they were last year. So people are starting to travel again. Fares are better. So we're starting to see everybody start flying again. And today we're here to talk to you about what that means to you and your company and what Carousel is doing to assist you with this. Amy, I'll turn it back over to you.
Yep. Thanks, Richard. So the purpose of today's webinar is really to prepare you for future travel. And we don't have all the answers. So what we'll do today is go through a number of questions and issues that you need to consider as you start shaping up your new COVID travel policy and how it would change maybe from your normal policy. We realize that some of you may already be in the air traveling, and some of you are, no, we're not traveling yet. I mean, there's a very wide range of if you're traveling or not traveling. People have a very strong opinion on that. But we have seen an uptick in flights, as Richard mentioned. We've seen about a 30% uptick in flight inventory, and we'll continue to see that as the months go on. Carousel has been closely monitoring all key supplier information as well. We are in touch with our hoteliers, our airline partners throughout the whole COVID, and we will share some more information about this for you today. We've actually created a couple of takeaway items for you. One is a resource guide with some key supplier COVID information that we will provide after the webinar. And another takeaway is going to be a summary of our talking points. So you walk away with some of the content that we're presenting here today. I'm going to email those to you after the webinar to everybody that's on here. So where do you start with the new COVID-19 travel policy? I mean, we took it back to the basics and just kind of went, who, what, why, and where. It's just a place to start as we start shaping up our new policy. And I'm going to let Tim start with the who.
Yeah, let's talk about who. Who in your company is allowed to travel? You can see there's some examples there on the slide. Is it your sales team or your service team? Maybe it's your executive team. Just as a side note to that, what we've noticed in the last couple of weeks, who's traveling with carousels, it's really been sales and service that's really ramped up. But I guess the question is, how do you as a company decide who travels? Is this based on customer need? Well, if you're in the service business and you're getting calls from customers wanting to, to service their equipment, it's definitely based on need, and you have to get there. Is it based on what your competition is doing in the marketplace? Well, if you're a sales-driven business, you need to stay in front of the competition. So you need to get out there as well. But then internally, how do you decide who within your organization is going to travel? Is it based on employee seniority? Is it based on maybe sales productivity? And it might even be based on willingness to travel. You might have a certain percentage of your staff that was traveling frequently before, but they're just not quite ready to board a plane yet and do that. So those are just things to think about. Other questions, how do you start traveling again? Do you phase it in slowly? Do you do it in stages? Do you do it with departments? Or do you just set a date and you drop your travel ban and it's business as usual, and those who were traveling before are welcome to travel, let's say starting July 1st. So those are just all topics that you would need to talk with your colleagues about and the management team. And I think they're all very valid points.
So thanks, Tim. One quick note on this. I actually was talking to a colleague of mine just this week who said that their company is opening up travel for all their technical staff because they have to be on site with their customers. But the company is requiring all technical people when they return back home to quarantine for 14 days. So that's just an example of what one company is doing to keep people safe. I want to talk a little bit about the factors of this new policy. What are the new factors? And there's just so many things that are changing these days with COVID. We're reading, things daily with our suppliers and how people are handling things. Most of your response to these situations, mostly around the response to your response around these situations that you see on your screen. How are you going to handle these things? Is your employee agreeable to travel? What if your employee is not agreeable, or they have a vulnerable family member at home and they prefer not to travel? What are the additional risks that you are accepting with this new travel policy? And really, what is your liability to get people back in the air? These are all things that you should consider as you're making plans. Tim, I'll let you take this one.
Yeah, why travel? I guess we touched on the first couple of bullets there. I think the third bullet's quite interesting. What is the protocol at your meeting and event? Meaning, really, what are your customers' expectations? So you're going on a client meeting and you show up at the office. Are you wearing a mask? You might be required by law to wear a mask in certain cities. I think it's kind of a no-brainer to bring a mask where you're going. But just other topics like, do you bring bagels or treats for meetings? We generally do that, but are those going to be well received? That might be a bit of a mixed bag. Who knows? And then even as far as greeting your customer, are you shaking hands? I think that's kind of been recently shelved, and it might be shelved for a while. I'll tell you, the last meeting that I had face-to-face with a client was a new client, and this is when this is all just first starting. It was like the beginning of March, and as we were leaving the meeting, we shook hands at the beginning of the meeting. As we were leaving the meeting, he showed me how to do a toe tap kind of greeting with your foot, and that was kind of a hello, goodbye replacement for that. Maybe that's the new normal. I don't know. I mean, what are the right things to do? I think we'll learn a lot about this as we're all kind of in it together, and we'll figure those things out. But it's an interesting concept to know how to proceed going forward.
And just another note, this is a different colleague I was talking to recently who was, dying to get back on the road, get on an airplane, get to his customers. He was making travel arrangements to go see his clients. And when he made those phone calls, 50% of the people said, absolutely, come on in. And 50% said, no way, we're not taking appointments. So again, wide range of responses to meetings and things like that, all things to consider as you're thinking about your policy. Where are you traveling to? Each destination might have different requirements. This is, there might be places where you can't travel. For example, even in the domestic arena, just this week, we received an email from the Hawaii Tourism Board that said that they are accepting new passengers through the end of July, but that upon arrival, they need to quarantine for 14 days. So, might not be a great place to go if you have to sit in your hotel room for 2 weeks prior to getting out. So just, and they're going to review the policy by the end of July, and maybe they'll change it, maybe they'll open it up, but that's how quickly things are changing almost daily here. One of the resources we gave you that I mentioned at the beginning here is this really cool interactive map. This is going to be on your resource guide. And this is a map from the International Air Transport Association, also known as IATA. And it's an interactive map that allows you to hover over the country that you're going to be going to, and it'll show the restrictions. So for example, I clicked on United Kingdom, and they are allowing passengers, but they're subject to self-isolation for 14 days. So again, wide range of responses by country, sometimes by state, and you will get this link after this webinar, so you'll have this tool.
One thing to mention about the tool as well, that's a great tool from a consumer standpoint, but I want you to know that our agent team has very advanced tools within their GDS system, and they will be able, as they're making your reservation, just by entering in city codes and whatnot, they'll be able to advise you of all the rules and restrictions of entry and exit and everything that goes along with travel in this new world of ours. They're a great resource. So please make sure, even if you're going to book with our online tools, just make sure you reach out to our agent team and ask for advice and ask for their help. That's what they're there for, and they're fully trained and ready to help you guys.
Thanks, Tim.
Yeah.
You know, Carrousel was early to jump in motion when this pandemic struck. You know, our primary concern was and still continues to be the health and well-being of our people and their ability to serve you as our clients. You know, we'd spent a couple of years actually working through our disaster recovery strategies and preparing our organization to serve you if and when a situation arose. In fact, a month before, I think it was, the statewide shutdown, we'd run a fire drill, you know, by closing our office and having everybody work from home and making sure that we could access all systems and everything was supporting and run. I can tell you, I'm really, really thankful that we did that. We had a really successful test that we needed to implement, you know, the following month. That being said, we did find some ways to improve and enhance our technology. And so while our system access and everything worked as planned and his ability to support you, we did see that opportunity to, you know, invest in some technology that will allow you and your travelers greater access and flexibility to reach out to our agents, whether it be texting in addition to email and to calling. We were also very proactive with the federal and state programs, which helped allow us to remain fully staffed around and available to serve you. We've been approached by other agencies, in fact, that wanted to partner with us to have Carrousel help service their corporate clients as they face challenges. Every one of our staff is here. We've been able to retain everybody and we're fully staffed to do this. But we've also taken the opportunity to really train. You know, there's all kinds of training that's available in the industry so that our agents can become better and tighter and more efficient in terms of how they support you. So we've done not just industry training from all the different suppliers and the vendors to understand what the latest changes and things that are being updated as this thing is so dynamically changing, but also just in the systems and cross training so that your online tools, we have more people to be able to assist in better and different ways than we used to be able to do in the past. As I mentioned, we've been dialed into the daily COVID supplier policy changes and expanding our relationships with those suppliers to keep up to date with every element that's so critical to you and your travelers when you get out there. How about just even unused tickets? Do you know that our clients alone, you guys out there, many of you, we've had literally thousands of tickets that were unused when everything shut down. It's a big challenge to understand. The airlines have been changing their policies related to this, related to name changes and fees related to it, extensions of periods of time. You got to reach out to us. We can help you with that. We've spent countless hours working through that information, putting them into your accounts, in your profiles to be able to serve you better as you get out there and fly.
Richard, can I just inject something here?
Yeah.
As far as agent tools, you know, there's so many different rules with these carriers when it comes to COVID window and reissue policies and that type of thing. I just want everyone to know that our agents have tools available right at their fingertips that they can enter the ticket number that you have in, and it'll tell them the exact waivers and policy reissue things. So, you know, a lot of the stuff's confusing and it's ever changing. So again, make sure to reach out to the agents when you want to use up one of your old credits. And there's different policies in place depending on the carriers, you know, as far as extending the validity of the ticket and just a lot of different rules. So please reach out to the agents if you have questions about that. They'll be able to advise you.
Thanks, Tim. And, you know, in addition to that, just on a personal company note, you know, we've had plenty of Zoom happy hours and company emails and little contests and games and sharing of different, you know, fake when you were at you're on this vacation, let's see a reenactment of that. You've seen some of these things online, but we've been having some fun with those different things and sharing our life experiences. But I'm really happy to report that our entire staff is healthy, enjoying some of these times that they have with their family. I know I've got both my kids that lived in New York are back quarantining with us, which has been really an exceptional opportunity. And I'd like to look back on this day someday and just think about how much fun that we had in spite of all the pain and suffering that we're all going through as we do this. But I can promise you this, everybody down to a person in our office can't wait to get back to full steam ahead and to serve you into the future. So Amy, maybe you could take us to the next slide and you and Tim can talk a little bit about what's going on today with our partners in specific.
Yeah, let me just talk about airports. Actually, before I talk about airports, let me just touch upon getting to the airport. meaning how are your people getting there? Does your travel policy require your travelers to park at an off-site location, such as a park and fly or easy go or this type of thing? Obviously with that, your travelers are going to be on a shuttle bus. You have to question the amount of, sanitizing and that type of thing, and the close proximity to other travelers. I guess there might be some exposure there. Are you maybe now allowing your travelers to park right at the airport in terminal? I think that's probably the safest way. It's zero contact. They take their own car. But with that, there's obviously added expense. Airport at the airport parking is not cheap. And then thirdly, what's become so popular is Uber and Lyft and the rideshare programs. My only concern with these is that these are really independent business owners with their own vehicles, and what are their cleaning regiments like? They have several people in and out of their cars all day long. I don't know. I've done some research on it. I can't find a lot of information on the rideshare programs other than that they're requiring a mask and the drivers are wearing a mask. So those are just things to, I think, be aware of. Obviously, everyone's going to be wearing a mask probably from the time that you leave your home until you enter your hotel room. It's just a typical protocol nowadays. Social distancing and that kind of thing has kind of become the norm. But what happens when your travelers arrive at the airport? They're going to have their mask on. They go through the TSA. TSA is going to tell them to remove their mask, which they're going to have to do for identification. But once they get past that and they're into the main airport, what amenities are available there? What about the restaurants? The little snack shops. Are the restaurants open? Are some of them permanently closed? Do the restaurants require reservations at this point? I know in Minnesota, most of them are requiring reservations. Are they limiting seating capacity? And the reason I bring that up is I just think that, there might be some more pre-planning on the part of the traveler. They may not be able to, just stop into that local restaurant and grab a bite before they board that plane that they're used to doing as kind of a routine. They may not be seated. And then when they get to the airplane, and Amy will talk more about this, they've completely changed their service. So they've limited, the food and snacks, and even the alcohol got cut the other day. So a lot of things to think about from the time you leave your home and just to get to the gate of the airport. And actually, in fact, next week I was just invited. A few of us are going to go out. Delta is hosting a MSP clean tour, which is a kind of tour of how they're taking care of these planes and the deep cleaning that they're doing and showing how everything is working at the airport. Obviously, they have different hand sanitizing stations set up throughout, but I think it'll be really interesting to see. And we're planning on videotaping that. So if anyone's interested in seeing this tour, we'd love to share it with you, and just reach out to me and we'll make that happen. Amy?
Thanks, Tim. So just, as Tim mentioned, the airlines have changed their protocol. We know that they're all requiring masks at this time. There is no food and beverage service at this time. So like, for example, Delta is giving away a little baggie, a sealed bag of water and some snacks. There is no alcohol service. We are actually seeing, though, that we understand from Delta, for example, that they're allowing up to 60% capacity in coach and 50% capacity in first class. So in coach, they're eliminating the middle seat to give passengers a little bit more room and privacy. And we're not sure when that capacity will change, but I'm sure as things go on, things will continue to change. The biggest change probably in the airlines with the airline is their ventilation system and their cleaning regimens. I mean, I'm excited to hear what Tim comes back with next week related to that. So they're taking every precaution to keep things clean, keep things safe and sanitized. So when we look at hotels, I just want to touch on hotels too. Boy, there's a wide variety going on with hotels, right? So the beginning of March, a lot of them just shut their doors. And, the emails were flying in on, we're closing. And now we're getting emails daily that they're reopening. So they're slowly reopening, but they're reopening under new guidelines and restrictions. So for example, You're not going to go to a front desk maybe and talk to a person for checking in. You might be at a kiosk and check in that way. They might not be offering full room service. They might not have restaurants available on site. Some are, some aren't. We're reading all sorts of different things here. There might not be housekeeping. When you think of your cleaning your room, there might not be housekeeping at the time. And we've seen most, again, related to the airlines as well, hotels are just really stepping up their whole cleaning regimen. So a lot of things going on there, but I wanted to share something that happened. I heard that this happened through a colleague of mine regarding an online booking, booking.com or hotels.com, one of the third-party OTAs, where somebody booked a hotel room and then showed up at the hotel and it was closed. So, you know, things like that have been happening. And really, when you think about the hotels, they're responsible for the content online. So if they haven't changed or updated their content online through online booking channels, you know, you might be stuck with a closed hotel. So we're taking the advantage, you know, if you're booking through Carousel, we will make sure that hotel is available prior to booking, but it's something that we are suggesting that people make a phone call to the hotel prior to departure, just to make sure it's operational.
No, I agree 100%. And if you don't want to make the phone call, please reach out to our agents 24 hours before you're departing. We'll double check, make sure nothing has changed. This has been such a fluid situation. We just want to make sure you're not showing up in a city where the hotel is shut down and you're getting there at 9 o'clock at night or what have you, and now you're left scrambling. And wasn't it like a Westin? I mean, it was one of the main larger hotel properties. It wasn't a fly-by-night property, so it's kind of surprising that would happen, but I guess it happens. When it comes to the car information, I don't have a ton to share about that. Obviously, they're doing deep cleans like everybody else. I guess if I was to make recommendations, I would say, you know, I would trust renting from a larger car rental company, whether it's a Hertz or an Avis or a National, rather than maybe an offshoot or one of the smaller discount rental companies. I think the big ones probably have a little better cleaning protocol in place, and they adhere to that a little bit more stringently. And the other thing I'd strongly recommend, if your travelers aren't already signed up for one of those frequent renter programs, whether it's Hertz #1 Gold or the National Emerald Isle program, have them sign up, and I can assist with that. But what these programs do is they allow your traveler to get off the plane. They bypass the car rental counter with the long lines where you're going to be socially distanced, waiting forever, and they can go right out to the car rental area. In National, for example, what they call the Emerald Isle, they'll have a slew of cars out there. And one of the greatest things about this is you only have to book an intermediate sized car, but then once you get out to the aisle, you can select whatever they have out there for the price of an intermediate car. So like the last time I rented, I took a Jeep because it was kind of cool. But the keys are on the dashboard, so it's basically zero contact. You jump in your car, you grab the keys, you start it up, and all you do is you stop at the kiosk on the way out, show your ID, and you're in and out. I mean, their goal with this thing is to get people in and out of that area in 2 minutes. So not only is it efficient, but it's safe and it's smart and it's free. So let me know if you need help with that. I'm happy to assist.
Thanks, Tim.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we'll provide you after the webinar is a resource guide where we have the links to the latest COVID information for some key suppliers. Not all of them, but some of the big ones here. And the good thing about this URL is it's their COVID policy. So the information is changing dynamically. You can click on this link and know that it's going to be the most current information, but what you see today might not be there tomorrow. And you'll notice here at the top, we've got the International Air Transport Association. We've got that interactive map there for you. So hopefully you find this a little bit useful as you prepare your policy. And we also just wanted to touch on a technology that we have at Carousel that I think is really good. It's around duty of care and real-time travel monitoring.
You know, Amy, this is really important right now. I was in an industry meeting yesterday with about 25 agencies, some of the very biggest ones in the country, down to real big regional ones like us and even some smaller ones. And one of the biggest concerns people have out there in your shoes, in your organizations, is liability of your travelers. I want you to know that even though, like everything else, it's evolving, there is a lot of legislation and pending in the congressional subcommittees. American Association of Travel Agencies, ASTA, a very large lobby group, has been very, very active with all of this type of information, from even the PPP loans all the way through now the liability as it relates to travel. There are legislation, things that are starting to take place to help organizations like yourselves not have to be so concerned about the liability aspects of it. Now, it isn't necessarily done. It could take a while, but between that or the courts, I think we're going to start seeing some action in that arena too. But this program, Safe to Go, is something that's very important to us. It's really a very unique thing. It's very inexpensive in general. Tim, maybe you could talk a little bit about what this program does for our travelers.
Yeah, absolutely. I love this program as far as duty of care and just, first of all, it's a twofold program. So one, it's a smartphone app. So when your travelers are on the road, if there's anything that's going to disrupt their travel, whether it's a weather delay or a gate change or mechanical issues, it even monitors for civil unrest. It's going to send your traveler a message alerting them of what's happening. And at that same time, it also sends our agent team a message. So, we can pull up the reservation, see what's going on, and be proactive, at least prepared to reaccommodate as needed. The other part, if you look at the screen and you see this world map, that's for the travel manager back at the headquarters. And it's so cool because it'll show the map of the globe, and everywhere there's one of those pins, the little people, that's one of your travelers. And if they are highlighted, that means there might be an issue right there. And you can mouse over that, and that will give you that mini itinerary letting you know who that person is. You click on that, it'll give you the full itinerary, and if there's a disruption, exactly what that disruption is. And I think in today's times, it's I don't know, it's just a no-brainer to me to have this as duty of care and knowing where your folks are. I think it's a wonderful technology, and I think every company should have it.
In fact, I think, Tim, it is so important that Carousel believes in it. For the next couple months, as you get back and get out there and start traveling, Carousel will provide this to you and your travelers for free. So please reach out to Tim, reach out to your agents. We can help with this and assist. And let's get you set up on Safe to Go, and you can try it and see how that's working for you. I think it's very important during these days as we get back, and especially for your organizations as you're worried about liability and knowing and understanding exactly where your travelers are and what's going on out there. So thanks, Tim.
Yeah, you bet.
Finally, we've talked a little bit about all the different things that you need to consider. This is just a little checklist. This isn't rocket science. These are things, though, that you need to understand as you start setting new policy. We can't go back to exactly what it was before and pretend it didn't happen. So these are just a little checklist to help you. Amy will send that out along with the resource guide to you at the end of this. But I just wanted to say thanks, everybody that did take the time to participate in this. We're here to help. We're going to see more of these little webinars that we'll put on for you in the future, just to give you little helps. But honestly, I think the thing that we could do most for you is just be there for you when you call. Talk to our agents, talk to Tim, talk to Amy, give me a call. We want to see you back out there. We want to see you back out there safely. And again, I just appreciate y'all joining us here this morning.
So just in wrapping up, we do want to thank you for your participation. We value your interest. If you need more information about Carousel Travel Services or information on this webinar, please reach out to me. My email is listed there, or reach out to Tim or Richard. But we hope that you walked away with a few nuggets, things to help you shape up your new policy. And I'll be sending that email out later today on the follow-up document. So thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day.
So long.
Thank you.